Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Ay, bae. All right, here we are. Women's Wrestling Talk is Wednesday, July the 13th. Welcome. We have a lot going on today. And our first person who's going to be joining us, my name is TK Trinidad, by the way. The first person who's going to be joining us is Miss Ella J. How are you doing, Ella?
I'm fantastic today. How are you?
I am good. I'm trying to pull through some stuff here and there, but here we are. Before you get started, I wanted to show. Actually, no, you talk. I have a surprise before we move on to our next story.
Yeah,
so what's going on.
She told me she had a surprise for me, which I have a feeling I know part of what it entails, but I don't know the rest of it. But yeah, my story today, I wrote an article about it this morning on WrestleZone 2 as well. Valerie Loreda, who recently signed with WWE, kind of brought about, she spoke with Sam Roberts on Not Sam Wrestling, the podcast. She kind of talked about what drew her into WWE. I mean, obviously, she's a former Bellator competitor who recently signed with WWE prior to Money in the Bank. And she was talking about how she attended WrestleMania this year and she was really captivated by it. But it was really the queen, Charlotte Flair, that sold her on it. And of course, everything that WWE entails, a mix of entertainment and fashion mixed with fighting and all of that, but is really the queen that sold her on signing with WWE, which, I mean, I love the queen. She's right behind me. Charlotte Flair obviously competed at WrestleMania against Ronda Rousey. So I really want to know what about Charlotte Flair like really captivates her. I hope sometime we can get more of an answer on like what really captivates her about Charlotte Flair. But yeah, I'm excited for her. She's due to start reporting to the PC next week, actually on the 19th, which is also her 24th birthday. So I'm excited to see where she goes from here. And her hope is to be on TV by the end of the year in NXT or main roster. Don't know yet. But yeah, she cited the Queen Charlotte Flair as the kind of the reason she got drawn into WWE and got sold on it.
So we do have a clip from the interview that she did with Sam Roberts. If I can find it now. Oh, here we go. Is that it? That's it.
It's just a completely different way of thinking, and honestly, the hardest part for me was making that mental shift from MMA to now being a WWE superstar, because my whole life I spent in martial arts competing in that, and now I'm going into this world of WWE, and I just had to shift my mind and all that passion I had into MMA, transfer that into the ring.
So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how she takes to it.
I'm excited to see. I mean, she has 5 years experience in MMA, but she's been fighting since she was like, I want to say she said 3 years old in the interview too as well. So she's been, I mean, for over like 20 years now, she's been in some capacity fighting, and now she's going to have to translate that. We've obviously seen like a Shayna Baszler, a Sonya Deville, a Ronda Rousey, and probably more with those MMA backgrounds going into WWE. So her hope is to get on to television by the end of the year. I think it obviously all depends on how she does at the Performance Center. And she said that she's going to be teachable and listen to these coaches and really put her all into it. So I'm excited to see what she brings to it. I was one I'm not really into like Bellator or anything like that, but I did know who she was, and I'm excited to see where she goes. And maybe if she does end up on television by the end of the year. Obviously, she's just starting next week at the PC. But I mean, hopefully we can kind of have a full circle thing and she goes one-on-one with the queen someday. I think that would be really cool for her.
Yeah, it would be. I think the fighting component is not necessarily the issue now.
Yeah.
I feel like there's more competition now as far as, especially in women athletically, because you have, the women who are coming from different sports, like, they have that almost that pipeline from college athletes to WWE. And then you have women who've been in doing, wrestling schools. There's way more wrestling schools now than there was like 10 years ago. And then you have women who like, they legitimately have been doing sports like Valerie since the age of however. I think the thing that's going to make them stand apart now is that those mic skills. That is something really that's going to be something telling.
Yeah, so she like I said, she starts next week. I think in a month or two, hopefully we get some progress updates. Obviously, I think she has the at least she has the athletic prowess and probably the resistance and the stamina to be able to keep up. But obviously MMA is obviously a bit different than WWE, which is a mix of entertainment and fighting. So, but also those mic skills are really important. And she does have great coaches at the PC to be able to teach her that. And she said that she prides herself on being teachable. So hopefully that translates over in a few months. Maybe we could see her on TV by the end of the year. She really hasn't started yet. So, but I'm excited to see her progress and her journey.
I am too. Now, one of my surprises, because if y'all not following Ella, you should be following her. But the fact that she's so torn between two prominent wrestlers, and they respond to her. She has friendships with them is an amazing thing. But I stumbled upon this picture, and it's just kind of like, I see what you're going with it. Mickie James did respond. So are we gonna have a Deanna Purrazzo, type thing coming along soon? What's the deets with that?
I was thinking of that, but putting together this Mickie cosplay was a lot easier than Deanna, who has these fancy, like kind of avant-garde jackets. I have no idea where to even start because it's just like one of a kind pieces. Mickie was more, hardcore country. I could get each of the separate pieces, the cowboy hat, the fringe jacket. Deanna kind of has custom pieces made. I might have to hit her up and be like, obviously she gets her gear from somewhere. So I don't know.
Right.
I would probably have to get a custom jacket made, which is a lot of money though. But I want to. I was actually thinking about that.
Okay. So I look forward to the update with that. But we are going to move on to our next story. So we have Mr. Gerard Bonner joining us. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. So what do you got for us today?
All right. So there's always been this unique connection between pro wrestling and music. It goes all the way back, of course, to the 80s, the rock and wrestling connection. But one of the genres that really isn't talked about a whole lot, but has a unique connection to pro wrestling is hip hop. Like, it's all over the place, to say the least. So earlier this year, there was a new promotion started called Battle Slam. And it's an offshoot of the Terminus family. Terminus, of course, Jonathan Gresham, all that jazz. So Battle Slam is specific to connecting pro wrestling and hip hop. So what's super unique about this is pro wrestling happens, but they have hip hop performances as well. So the first show, which was in April, had Pastor Troy. It was really crazy. It ended up on Fight TV, which was nuts. So the second show happens in June, and Lil Scrappy is performing. Another big moment. Fantastic. Well, Lil Scrappy gets ready for his second performance. Baron Black, who is a wrestler and the promoter of Battle Slam, had just lost the match, and Baron Black got mad. Gets mad in the ring, confronts Lil Scrappy, and Lil Scrappy all of a sudden hits him with a rock bottom. That goes viral. People go crazy, and we all kind of thought that was the end of this thing. Now it's official. We've got a match getting ready to happen on July 28th at Battle Slam. Baron Black versus Lil Scrappy in the ring at Battle Slam, the takeover. And this is crazy.
So who do you have in this matchup?
Well, this is tough, right? I think people will automatically think Baron Black because he's the wrestler. The thing is, Lil Scrappy has been very interested in the world of pro wrestling for a while. Before this even happened a few years ago, he was actually getting trained. He showed up in a local in Atlanta called Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, AW. So he's got some experience in the ring. Baron Black, of course, is a trainer, does some work at Nightmare Factory, has been on AEW and all sorts of spaces. So this is a bit of a dream come true for Lil Scrappy. For Baron Black, it's a lot of aggression to get out. I don't know who I have on this one, but I'm fortunate enough to be commentating for this match. So I'm pretty pumped for what we're going to see at Battle Slam on July the 28th. But this kind of adds, again, to the growing list of celebrities who have found themselves in the ring recently. Of course, we think about last year and that amazing performance from Bad Bunny. This year, we had, of course, Logan Paul. You know, so as I mentioned before, the game has been raised in terms of celebrities stepping into the ring. Like, you really have to be able to do something. I think about Stephen Amell a few years ago. You know, it just can no longer be you get in the ring just because you're a celebrity. Now you
Right.
get in the ring, you actually have to be able to perform. So we saw Little Scrappy do what he calls the scrap bottom as opposed to the rock bottom. Does that translate to a full match? I don't know. This is going to be tough.
Ooh, I mean, it's gonna be in Atlanta, so he already has a following there.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Do you think it's gonna be a one-off for him, or is this a?
Well, that's what's hard to figure out, because I didn't honestly think that the payoff would be a match. I thought that the payoff was the rock bottom or the scrap bottom. And that was big in and of itself. But this turning into a match is a whole new thing. Now, this is what's interesting. God forbid, not saying that he can't win the match, but he could win the match. But one of the things that's getting ready to happen in Battle Slam is they're getting ready to have its first ever world title tournament. So they're going to be creating a world championship in Battle Slam. And there are tournaments, you know, and there are qualifying matches to get into the tournament. So now this creates an interesting scenario, because you could conceivably have Lil Scrappy beat Baron Black, enter into the tournament, and now you really have hip hop and wrestling in your tournament for the Battle Slam World Championship.
What do you think, Ella?
I'm wondering, what does your commentary notes look like in preparation for this matchup?
Well, I usually do. I do a lot of preparation for things like this, because, you know, you always want to be prepared. And so probably a day or two before, I'll really kind of go in to prep for this. And then I'll try to find out if Scrappy has names for his moves or anything like that. Now, my own little commentary secret, I hate, they all know, everywhere I commentate, they know, do not tell me what's going to happen. Don't tell me. I want an authentic reaction and response. And so thankfully they're kind enough. So really what you hear from me is what you get. But yeah, the notes are going to be extensive, rest assured.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely look forward to seeing that. And yeah, I definitely, I'm kind of seeing, and I'm sure with everybody, you're seeing those, you know, celebrities, you know, Bad Bunny talked about it, how they watched WWE when they're a kid, and who didn't, when they were a kid, jump off the couch pretending it was a top rope, you know, either trying to kill their cousin or their brother or whoever. So like that was, I think that's a part of pretty much everybody's life in some way, shape, or fashion, depending on how long or short you watch WWE. So now the fact that they're having this blend and there are these opportunities, you know, it's coming full circle. And I think, you know, it's the same thing where I almost equate it to the same with like podcasting, right? You know, there was such a divide and a difference between television, radio, podcasting. Everybody looked at it, podcasting, like, ew. Now every radio show has a podcast. Every television show has a podcast, and vice versa. Now you're seeing podcasts on TV. And I feel like there has to be these blends and these crosses between different things in order to bring more people in. The more people are going to watch, the better it is for everybody. And so now with hip hop, you're bringing in a whole new, you know, sect of people that might watch it once in a while, but now you're going to get a pop. So it makes sense. Why not?
Right. It totally makes sense. And the other side to it too is now you have those people interested in getting in the business who actually really respect it. And so when you really respect it, you approach it much differently. You'll sit down and you'll train and you'll do the things that are necessary to ensure that you have a really, really good showing. So I'm certain that this is going to be a spectacle for sure. And it's amazing because the hip hop publications are talking about this. So that's when you know, okay, now we've got something really, really special here. So I'm excited what's going to happen. There have not been any training videos released, so I have no clue in terms of what's happening training wise. But I mean, even thinking about AEW when Shaq had his match, like everybody is trying to do what they have to do to make sure that they are honoring and respecting the product. And so that's going to be amazing. And again, I think it's going to be crazy here in Atlanta. So on July the 28th, Tickets are available, and I'm not sure if it's going to be live on Fight yet, but I'm sure if it's not live, it'll end up on Fight at some point. And it should be a crazy night, to say the least.
Well, there it is for that, for sure. Are you staying with us or are you popping out?
Yes, I'm going to hang out.
All right, sounds good. So we're going to move on to our next story with our most interesting co-host with, definitely some hot takes. Mr. K. McCoy, how you doing?
Gang up in this thing.
What you got for us today?
Let me make sure. Sorry, I was on Amazon Prime. It's Amazon Prime today. I was getting the specials. I was trying to buy a new skateboard for Cora Jade. It was a very tough night for her last night. So
tougher for her or her skateboard?
Any specials? Tougher for her. The skateboard botched yesterday.
It really did.
It was a little nervous out here. So we're gonna get more into that. NXT last night 2.0. Gang, gotta throw it up. We had a NXT title match. Our girl Roxanne Perez was looking to cash in after winning that women's #1 contender match, and the program started off and she was once again laid out in the parking lot. NXT really should think about getting some type of parking lot attendant to handle those needs, because a lot of her wrestlers are getting assaulted out there. But seriously, just get somebody figure out what to do. Listen, when we saw it, I think I wasn't the only one. I let out an audible already. I was like, already? That we're gonna do this already? Like, they just won it. I mean, I was just really starting to love Team Forever 21 and Team Justice, Team Journeys. Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade was like Team Vans Warped Tour. It's like, oh my God, what band are they going to see next, right? So I know a lot of us were ready to scream on Twitter and talk about how Roxanne Perez was going to be a double champion and she's going to be pushed too soon. Your tweets was in the draft. I'm looking at you. I see you out there. And, oh my God, Toxic Attraction loses all this steam within 2 weeks. And they hit us with the because in that match, Roxanne Perez came out against the advices of Cora Jade and the referees, and she put on a banger with Mandy Rose. But at the end, the Cora Jade, who was rooting for her, was actually the one trying to just booting for her, and she we ain't friends, B. And she took off her tag title and hit her in the back, caused her to match, and then afterwards stumped in some more and hit her with the skateboard. And that is the now viral clip right there that we have with Cora Jade. Like, yeah, you thought, but it ain't. It is what it is. You thought it was what it was, but it isn't. I think that this is one of the situations where it's just interesting, right? Because we're kind of like, how does this happen? How do you crown champions one week and then the very next week they're beefing? Now we've seen kind of like this odd couple, run kind of before, but usually like they're beefing first, then they get a fluky tag win, then they become champions, then they lose, and then someone turns, and then the feud commences. Or you're a tag champion and you win a singles title, like we thought that Roxanne was going to do, and then they lose the titles, and then Cora would have turned. So this was a little earlier than we've kind of seen in the past, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens here with another set of women's tag titles. What exactly goes down, because it's not really popping on the main roster right now. So it's going to be seeing what happens with the NXT women's tag titles. But I'm really happy for Cora Jade. I really think that, that skateboard breaking was symbolic of, learning a new trick. You know what I mean? And I believe that she's going to be a great heel. I think that the backstory is that, she's been here the last year, being positioned, kind of being the next girl. And, Roxy, and meanwhile, the old school Roxy's and ROH doing her thing, and everyone's like, win, when she's coming over to WWE. And meanwhile, here's Cora Jade with her little boyfriend, you know what I'm saying, and he's gone now. So he skated off, and he's gone. And, you know, she has these matches that she's teaming with these people and she can't beat them. And then she goes and, you know, teams with Raquel, then Gonzalez, now Rodriguez, and they fight, then they together. And then, you know, she wins War Games. She's the last survivor in War Games, but she loses in New Year's Eve with a triple threat with, you know, then Gonzalez, now Rodriguez, and Mandy Rose. And it's kind of like, what's going on with her? And she finally gets this championship with the girl who's kind of seen as the next big thing. And she's like, not so soon. I can do this without you. I've been doing this without you. You know what I'm saying? I raised you up. So I think this helps in two ways. It keeps Mandy and Roxanne apart for a little bit. It doesn't really hot shoot Roxanne Perez, and we can let this Cora and Roxanne feud kind of see what develops. Will they remain champions? Will they surrender the titles? Will they look for new partners? What's going to happen? So very, very interesting. I can't wait to see what develops off of this. Even though, like, I think, like, I mean, like,
you just gave like a whole breakdown. I don't even know what to say. Like, okay.
Sorry. I was really invested. I was watching this, like, I can't believe this. It's been a week since, you know, I think like Dakota Kai and Raquel, you know, then Gonzalez, now Rodriguez tag team title reign was like, man, y'all tripping on this one. And they were champions for like 42 minutes. You know what I mean? You know, when they had won it. So it's going to be interesting, like, what happens. Like, what do you guys think?
They're still tag champs too. Yeah. So
champs.
Like, do they relinquish them? Do they force them to defend them against does Toxic Attraction become a 3-time women's tag team champ? I don't know. I think obviously they're gonna have to get the titles off of them somehow, or Roxanne's gonna defend them by herself successfully, which I can see them doing, it being a handicap match. Then I don't know what happens.
I think the fact that we have so many questions is what makes this actually a very good thing, because we can't figure out what they're going to do. I remember watching it going, wait, huh? You know, and all the questions you guys have raised are all the questions that I raised. And so for all of the, you know, controversy and criticism that NXT 2.0 has gotten, you got to admit, this is something where we go, ooh. And so it's really good. And again, you know, Cora Jade was kind of the, super happy, super nice, nothing can ever go wrong. This dark side all of a sudden makes us go, okay, yeah, I'm with this.
I mean, it's a whole Avril Lavigne CD, really. It's kind of like Skater Boy, then So Much for My Happy Ending kind of vibes. You know what I mean? It's there.
Shades of Elena Black.
So we have somebody say, I believe Toxic Attraction beats Roxy and Cora because Cora doesn't show up for their defense.
Makes sense.
Possible.
Could be.
Makes sense.
I have a theory of who Mandy's next competitor could be.
Ooh.
I think it's going to be Alba Fry. Did you guys see that clip?
So, like, what are they doing with my girl? What are they doing with her? Like, we just like we're really gonna do this to Kaylee Ray? That's what we're gonna do here?
I'm just guessing, just based off of today. I mean, Mandy. I mean, there's some beef there. She mispronounced her name.
Yeah, Fry. not fire.
Yeah,
right.
But Fry. Which, like, I mean, Mandy could be advocating for dyslexic wrestlers. Who knows? Like, you know, it could be a thing. But, you know, better than the Natalia Ronda Twitter beef. So, you know, that was getting weird. I was like, what's happening here? Do I subscribe to the page or not?
You don't want to rack up, Kane? What the heck?
I was like, yeah, do I click the link to subscribe to the Sisters OnlyFans or not? Just let me know. Are we kayfabe or not? What's happening?
Wow.
Oh, goodness. Well, going from one tag team.
I will subscribe.
We know you will. Going from one tag team to another one. I mean, I think we all kind of knew what was happening. And I think this is also another question that ties into what we were just talking about. The tag team championships, the women's tag team champions, which seems like it's no longer. We do have a poll, which I'll pull up as well. Do you think that they're going to get rid of it across the board?
They can't. They can't, because it will admit that Sasha and Naomi was right. And Vince McMahon is the only person that can be right in WWE. Nobody else can be right except him. So he's going to find a way to keep it and combine it with maybe the NXT titles or find a way to write it off. But he will not just do it this way. Something will happen first, and then we will see the true ending of it or how it really plays out. But is it just going to go away after 50 days? No.
Well, here's the thing. There's been no talk of it ever since they left. There was that one announcement on SmackDown that says, hey, there's going to be a SmackDown or a tag team title tournament. And then it went away. Here's what I found interesting. Did you guys notice on Monday Night Raw that of the 6 matches they had on Raw, 4 of them were tag team matches? And I just sat back going, why are we all of a sudden having, and they were tag team matches with folks that made no sense together whatsoever. And I was just like, okay, are people hurt tonight? What's going on? And then what was even crazier is in the women's tag match, they talked about how the winners of that would be making their ways as top contenders for the women's title. And I'm like, wait. At what point does a tag team match qualify you for a singles championship? It is weird right now in that particular space on the main roster. And so I think they've got to figure out one way or the other. I really think what they're doing is they figure if we don't talk about it, people will forget about it and it'll go away. But the problem is we have a very long memory.
Yeah. I think they might retire them for maybe a year or 2 and then bring it back. Or like Kane said, I hope that what should have been one title defended across all platforms like we saw, but then they introduced the NXT women's tag team titles. So I think they're going to retire it for a year or 2, continue with NXT, but I would hope that they would just combine it with NXT and have it to go back how it originally was, have a champions floating between all 3 brands. I think that could really spice things up, but I don't think that's going to happen because.
Well, I like that, Ella, only because that's what we're seeing anyway. We're seeing stars from the main roster come to NXT and vice versa. So if they're going to come, might as well have them come for titles at least and have them for titles.
Yeah, we've seen
Natalia. When they were doing that, it was still very confusing, meaning that like even when they were going back and forth, it didn't make sense per se. Like, you know, it's problematic when there's a decent amount of women that you can make legitimate tag teams with, and you can have, you know, on separate brands, and you don't take advantage of the people because you just, I don't know, you don't want to write a storyline for it. And then it's like, okay, we're gonna just make it one unified tag team. It's going to go across all 3 brands, but then, you know, how does that necessarily make sense? Because sometimes the main roster doesn't even acknowledge NXT because the people who come from NXT come over to the main roster and they now all of a sudden have different names. Yeah. So it's just kind of like, it's like it's like, you know, if you have Spider-Man and he goes into a different universe and now he's, you know, Spider Twerk. It's like, wait, what just happened? So
I feel becomes
like
Axiom.
They just need to either decide on one thing and stick to it.
Yeah, and there's really only 2 legit women's tag teams left, like Toxic Attraction and Katana and Kaden, who have been there forever, but still haven't even touched gold. Yeah,
They're just here to job.
That's legit. Yeah,
and they wrestle singles matches. Like they had a singles match last night on NXT, and it was just like, what's happening here? Like it just seems directionless, and it's like, listen. We love wrestling. We all passed English class. We could kind of sort of talk. We'll write the angles. We got some good angles here. You know, just send us down to Orlando. I've always wanted to have a season's pass to Universal Studios. Just send us down there, and we could just make it happen. Because I think they're running into the issue of they've almost like put themselves into a corner, which is like which is why they can't really retire them because Vince can't let Sasha and Naomi be right. Like you can't prove the point of being like, oh, they really weren't going to do anything with these titles, and that's why, you know, it almost validates Sasha and Naomi being like, hey, bro, it's F this ish o'clock. We out of here. Take these belts.
Sasha Mercedes is making her first post WWE appearance at Chicago Comic-Con coming up in a few weeks. She's billed as for Mercedes Varnado. So I think that's really telling.
Yeah. Let me tell you something right now. because we're still sitting on like confirming if she's been released or not. There's lawyers working on it and whatnot. Let me tell you something. If she's at Comic-Con and somebody from Stardom, Kari Sane, pulls up on her to set up an angle for Wrestle Kingdom, I'm leaving my apartment because I know I'm going to get evicted because I'm spending all my money to fly to Tokyo. I'm out of here. Like, I'm out of here. Like, I'm spending everything. You know what I mean? Because I feel like Sasha is done with WWE, and she's like, hey man, I can just do bad by myself.
There was no mention of WWE. Just Sasha Banks in ring. That was it.
Dude, I wrestle 4-5 matches a year. I'm on Wrestle Kingdom. I do NJPW Strong, which already announced they're going to be working with Stardom and having some female and some women's matches. And they just had an exhibition at Wrestle Kingdom this past January of Stardom. That's why Io Shirai ain't
Don't forget that Disney money. Don't forget that
Disney money too. Yeah, bro.
Let me ask a question. Which Comic-Con? Is it the August one or the September one?
August, I want to no. Oh, I'd have to look. Don't quote me on that.
The reason why I'm asking is because, of course, the August one, obviously in Chicago, but the September one has interesting dates. September the 1st through September the 5th. That's a Thursday through a Monday. That Saturday is this unique event by some company called All Elite, called All Out. You don't think? I mean,
unless she gets a non-compete, unless they give her a non-compete.
This is the August one.
Sasha will be in
August 5th through 7th.
I hope she doesn't do AEW.
I don't want to see Sasha in AEW.
I don't either.
It's not even that. I'm just tired of seeing they already have a great crop of women that they're not doing anything with. And I'm not opposed to like taking a check and just sitting back in craft services. I'm not opposed to that, but I feel like if we continue having men and women take these checks for AEW and, not really using their talent or skill, it's just kind of like I'd rather you use those good years so we can see some fantastic things so that we can talk as fans talk about, later in life. And, it's great to have that pop. I mean, Ruby Soho had an amazing pop, but what is Ruby doing now? So I really hope that's
getting
not
attacked
the case.
in the parking lot by Jericho Appreciation Society.
Exactly. Yeah. Amazing work that she's doing.
They also need a parking lot attendant at AEW too.
It's true.
It's true.
And somebody to keep gas away from the Wizard, Chris Jericho. He seems to be getting his hands a lot of fireballs. So or Mario cosplay just pop.
So I hope that's not the case for her. I feel like New Japan Pro is probably a good deal for her.
So if we don't hear from Kane, we know why.
Right.
Because he's in Japan.
Konnichiwa, fam. Konnichiwa, bro. Konnichiwa. I'm a young lion somewhere in a dojo.
Oh gosh. Now, also speaking about, in July, not August, we also have some tryouts. WWE's having their tryouts in summer at SummerSlam. Anybody? I know Nikki and Santana are going to be going to that. How do you think this is going to turn out? Like, I believe they had oh my gosh, Nikita Lyons. I'm trying to remember her WoW name. She was in the Vegas one. And now we're seeing her on.
This one's a little different because, I just wrote an article on this morning too. This one is for current or recently graduated college athletes specifically. So it's not like any independent stars or people necessarily with pro wrestling experience. It's for college athletes. And they're also doing this cool thing too, where for the first time ever, people can actually buy tickets to view the third day of the tryout on the 27th. That Friday, the 29th. It starts the 27th. That Friday, the 29th, people can actually view it. So it's going to be interesting. There's going to be over 50 male and female recently graduated or current college athletes competing in it. So it makes it a little bit different. There's going to be basically all new faces to us. There's reportedly no indie stars, but it obviously goes with their whole new Nile program, the Next in Line program, where they have signed a couple college athletes or recently graduated. So it seems like, I mean, there was a report they're still looking at indie stars, but it feels like for the most part, they're looking for fresh and new faces, people who don't necessarily have wrestling experience that they can kind of mold in the PC.
It's in that WWE style. Let me tell you something. Look at me. Indie wrestlers. Look at me. I know you watch WWT Live. Look at me, indie wrestlers. It's over. It's over for you. It's curtains. AEW or ROH needs to be your new target, or just don't wrestle, stay fit, and show up to one of these with your bachelor's degree. Because it's clear that Vince McMahon and WWE, they want to create their own style. Vince is always, you know, for business wise, he's always steps ahead, just almost laps ahead. And he said, you know what? I bought up my competition. I beat my competition. Cool. I'm going through this weird thing. I'll kind of bring back the territories of OVW. Cool. I'll turn the territories into my own performance center where I would send people. Cool. Not really working out. What about if I get some indie guys from the third biggest promotion, ROH, and just make my literal own ROH under the WWE brand with NXT and bring over these guys who people want to see, and these wrestlers don't have to wrestle in front of 200 people no more. They can actually wrestle in front of WrestleMania. So scratch my back, scratch yours. And then once I'm kind of done with them and, you know, I'm kind of like, okay, it ain't working because it's not my fault. It was my idea, but it's not my fault. Send them on their way. And now I can look at other ways and pull up athletes who are already athletic. So they already ripped and they look like the type of people that Vince likes anyway, because he likes that big chiseled, you know, we remember the WBF, you know what I'm saying? Vince probably has many sleepless nights that the WBF failed, you know what I mean? So he's going to get these athletes to show up and he's going to train them in their fashion. And we kind of see who he's pushing right now as far as Austin Theory or just Theory. You know, that guy was an athlete who they became a wrestler, bodybuilder. We see it with Madcap Moss, who was a football player. Like these jacked, ripped guys, we're starting to see that turn. You're not really seeing the smaller guys anymore compete. He's kind of going slowly back to the like ripped, huge dudes who are kind of like doing their thing.
You saying Theory's huge?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's a jacked guy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I haven't seen the alleged content on the internet, so I can confirm or deny. But, you know, muscle-wise, you saw him next to Cena. They were mano-a-mano. They looked the same. And I know it was skinny Cena, but he looked like he belonged, you know?
I know.
I read Twitter like everybody else, okay? I know what y'all talking about.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, like the whole thing with this is it's kind of, I think I said this before, I can't remember what show it was. I feel like you're getting these athletes and you know, if they make this program, I hope they're getting taught the fundamentals of what to do with this money and the after effect, the after fact of if they don't make the cut.
Some of them have already been released from the Nile program, which is the sad part.
Right.
So it's just
because there was the report that came out. Remember, they got like 90 days in and out.
Right.
Like you got a certain amount of time to get better. We're gonna see you. We're gonna put you on next up, or what is it? Level up.
Level up. Yeah.
And then level up. Then we put you on NXT. And if you're not really doing anything, hey man, thanks. It was cool. See you later. Bye. You know, it's no cost to them. That wrestler can't take their name on the indies. You know what I'm saying? Even if they want to be wrestlers in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, so it ultimately all works out for WWE because these people who come are going to have a WWE name that they can't take on the indies, even if they want to go independent. And just three months, come in, come out, see you later. So from a business standpoint, it makes sense.
And also too, putting in the 3 months, like I think people don't realize, like it seems short, but you're now dedicating every part of your existence to be better. And if you don't make the cut, and, you know, obviously everybody can't make the cut, then you're spending, you know, you spend that 3 months trying to figure it out, you get cut. Then you're spending anywhere from 3 to 6 months, maybe 3 years trying to figure out your next move. Because as a, you know, former college athlete myself, and when I finally like said, okay, I'm hanging up my track spikes, it took me a while to figure out what my next move was, because literally for about 10 years, I lived and breathed track. Like that's all I did. So it's, you know, trying to figure out your next move when you weren't thinking about it the whole time. You know, it's great for WWE. They don't lose anything, but these athletes, you know, if they weren't thinking about wrestling and now they have this opportunity, now the opportunity is gone. You know, I hope there's some programs in place where it's just like, okay, well, if you didn't make this, we have these programs. I believe NBC has programs like that where it's like there's behind the scene opportunities if you want to get into that, writing, et cetera, et cetera. So I hope there is something like that, but you know, again, we had no idea what happened.
It's just funny that it shows the world that we live in where literally everywhere is requiring a bachelor's degree, even to do a hip toss, even to just lock up, you need a bachelor's degree to get a job now.
To be fair, I mean, Thea Hale just graduated high school, and she's an NXT now.
Yeah, well, I mean, but she did graduate, and now she's going to college. She's going to chase you.
Chase you.
That's true. That's true.
So technically, she's in the NIL program.
Yeah, technically,
she's scholarship to chase you.
Yeah, and there
which has co-ed dorms. It has co-ed dorms. So what a great college, apparently. With her and
I think there's gonna be some exceptions. Like I think anybody from Booker T's school, anybody from certain schools that have a you know, almost like a path pipeline to WWE. That, and it also depends on the longevity of or how long they've been wrestling. Like I think Roxana, I want to call her Roxy, but she was in that sweet spot where it was just kind of like, if she was like another 2-3 years, it might have been.
Yeah,
I agree.
But she was in the perfect. Her time was perfect.
Yeah, and what was ROH going to do? Match her contract? It didn't even exist. It didn't even exist. So you know, what are you going to do? Match it?
It is interesting. You know, as you're mentioning timing and things, because if you're looking at like Brooks Jensen, who's right now half of the NXT UK champs, he came from Southern Honor. He literally left Southern Honor and went there, but that was last summer, right around that time when WWE said, okay, we're about to cut things off, you know, and just pursue college graduates and things of that nature. So I do think they're going to look at how long you've been in the indies. If you're still fresh, a year, 2 years, you haven't had a whole lot of time to develop a lot of bad habits. And to the school part, I think there are a number of schools. And now that Cody is in WWE, I think folks in the Nightmare Factory could very well be considered, just like they have a direct pipeline to AEW. So I do think this is where the schools, to your point, are really going to now become the place for students to go versus trying to really do a whole lot in the indie space.
But also the unfortunate thing is that if they do if they're lucky enough and they make it past, you know, NXT and they're in the, I'll call it maybe the Aaliyah program where they're there for a long period of time, then they get cut. You know, they don't know where to start with the indies. Like I always look to like Chelsea and Taya, where I mentioned yesterday. All right, we're no longer employed by you guys. All right, cool. And next thing you know, they're booked and busy. Like the people who are going through this WWE program, that's not going to be the case. And to hop on the indie scene, it takes years to build up that type of cachet. So,
and who knows what type of backlash they're going to face? Unnecessary Oh, you came from WWE, like, you know, you fumbled the bag. You know, I'm out here wrestling in nowheresville for 20 people, and you got hot shotted up here, you messed it up, and now who are y'all looking at each other? So who knows what type of like resentment they might get towards them on the indies anyway. I hope not, because obviously if these guys are there, then they love the business.
Well, and I think that's just it there. It's if they go to the indies, it's because they love the business. Because people generally don't just, I mean, I've talked to some folks who said, if I leave WWE, I'm not going to the indies because they don't have that kind of a love.
Nia Jax. Nia Jax. Nia Jax.
So, you know, it's just interesting. It's really, really interesting. And I think on the indie side, you know, it's really the world of independent wrestling is so interesting because on one hand, they are building stars. And because they're building stars, you know, the right promotion will figure out if somebody coming from WWE will actually be beneficial to their card or not. Because there was a time where you had to get an ex-WWE star to really draw a house.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that in indie wrestling anymore.
Yeah.
So that makes things very, very interesting.
Yeah,
it
like
does.
that's how you end up with like RVD against like Pentagon or something like that. Like in what company was that? Not Progress, but here in California, I think of the name eventually. Not PWG. Oh, I'm gonna think of it. But yeah, it was a lot of like RVD like there because it was like, but now he's like, we don't need that anymore. But yeah, like in those federations, in those smaller companies, you'll see that. And I think to that point as well, with the indies, we're kind of seeing almost a throwback to the territories where it was just like, hey, I can watch this, I can watch that. Like I can see everything is going on. So I like it from that perspective, which is why Vince is like, well, I can't really pull from them like I want to because name changes and a lot of guys can make more money than they could back in the day. So we're almost reverting back to territories. So Vince has to find a way to conquer the territories without taking stars from the territories. Because a lot of the guys in the indies don't match his body ideal anyway. You know what I mean? Minus like Alex Hammerstone, who looks like Triple H. But other than that might be the only guy. But so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And hopefully the product stays up. Because at the end of the day, we just want to watch good wrestling. And we know when we're watching something that's going to be a spot fest, we're going to know when people are trying to like remember spots and no one can call audibles. Like that's what makes the AJ Styles and the Finn Balor's, like these guys so special that, we're going to watch some wrestling. You know what I mean? We're going to watch some bangers night after night, as opposed to like, you can see the difference. And I know it's NXT 2.0, but the difference between NXT 2.0 and the regular NXT. And like yesterday we saw, what's my guy? Giovanni Vici, whatever. Fabian Archer, but versus Apollo Crews. What a banger, dog. You know what I'm saying? That was rap. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, man, that was real fire. It's real fire, dog.
Well, moving on to our last and final story, which
stay in the chat, Nikki. It's a grown folk conversation.
Elle and I were actually talking about this before we got on. So Big E, so pretty much just saying his neck was, his neck is healing. He's on the road to recovering. But do we think that this is going to be like, this is scary? Like he could have been paralyzed. So, what do you guys kind of think of this whole story? This was reported by ESPN.
I think it was good. He didn't need surgery, I don't think. So I think that itself was huge. He obviously would have been out longer. But yeah, it is kind of scary to think that like, what if he was paralyzed or had nerve damage or needed surgery and all of that? I mean, if he feels healthy and he's had multiple rounds, like doctors' evaluations, maybe he's ready. But we've seen also in the past, neck injuries can end careers. So I would tread lightly.
Yeah, one of the things that the article said is that, because of a setback that he had, he'll now be out for an additional year. And it won't be until then that they can really reevaluate, what's happening and if he'll be able to get back into the ring. And so, he talked about, feeling positive, being grateful, that he's alive, because certainly this could have all been much, much worse. And so obviously I'm with him. I'm very grateful that he's alive. And yet it just feels so unfortunate and odd and, dare I say, sad that one of the brightest faces and figures in pro wrestling, who just came off of an amazing title run, is now in this space where we legit don't know if he'll wrestle again. I mean, he said he's down to 245 pounds. That's little E at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, those kinds of things, he says he's got abs. And like, it's weird. Like, we normally are happy when people lose weight, but in this particular case, it's like, whoa, so I don't know what happens for Big E now. I'm very hopeful, but being out for a year, and then they have to reevaluate. I don't know.
Yeah, he says that. Go ahead. Sorry, TK.
I mean, the good news is it seems like he's in a positive space. Like, I mean, I follow him on his social media, and like you did mention, like even if we weren't able to see him again. He's coming off of a really great run. You know, so the unfortunate thing is like if you know, that's the end of it. He did some really amazing things. The good thing is we have seen people from these type of injuries come back, but it took a very long time for them to do that. So
it took Edge 10 years.
Yeah,
it took Edge nearly 10 years. Yeah.
Crazy.
So yeah, we'll definitely see what happens with that. But that kind of wraps up today for WWT Live. We'll just go in a round robin as far as where can everybody find you. So Ella, where can everybody find you?
You can find me right where it says right here at It's Ella J on Twitter. If you go to the link tree in my bio, you can find all the links to all my stuff.
Yes, including this picture. You can check it out there too. And all 100 of Ella J's jobs. And Mr. Bonner, where can everybody find you?
You can find me at Bonnerfied on all of the socials. You can also follow the podcast. It's just The Faction at The Faction Show. Southern Honor Wrestling, doing some fun things there. Just had a big show Friday night. That show should end up on IWTV very, very soon. So be sure to check that out. And then, of course, Battle Slam is on the way in just a couple of weeks. Should be a huge event. We'll keep you posted on when that's going to hit Fight, et cetera, and more super cool things. And of course, you can check out the merch at prowrestlingtees.com/Bonnerfied. I'm almost feeling pressure about the blue thing, but we'll talk about that later.
Will you take a chair shot at the event, G?
I've had some interesting things happen to me at Southern Honor. We'll have to talk about that as well. Very much like unplanned.
Like a table spot, unspot. Yo,
I had a barbed wire bat to my neck. Yeah.
Oh
yes.
Yeah.
Nice Terry Funk FMW vibes. I'm with it, brother.
Serious.
Follow me at Kane McCoy, CAINMCCOY. TK, I texted you that I was going to do this and show you because I'm very excited. Not only will I be purchasing Cora Jade's skateboard over Amazon Prime today, a new one, but I'll be doing it with what? My new WWE Credit One bank card.
I was like, what did you text me?
That's right.
Flip it around for the people, Kane.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, let's flip it around. Oh, there you go. I'm the way I'm holding it. Yeah, I'm really excited. Like, I saw it and I applied, and I was like, yo, I'm going to lay the smack down. Hopefully not my credit score down, but lay the smack down using this. And, of course, the first thing I'm going to do with this, buy AEW All-Out tickets tomorrow whenever they put them on sale. I guess, you know.
Fair enough.
So yeah, get one. It's like hella easy because if I got one,
book his flight to Japan. Stay tuned after August 5th to August 7th for an update.
Yes, when all of this is maxed out, then you'll know. So if I got one of these, you can get one. You know what I mean?
So funny.
I like JD in the comments. Serial number or expiration date, or it's fake. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Santana topped in. Got like $2. It's about $2 more than you got, Santana.
Anywho,
at least
we're not going there. But make sure y'all check out. We do have merch.
Santana got a Cash App card with no money on there.
Oh gosh, for you wear we write for Naomi, so definitely go and check that out. Definitely go and follow us on all social media platforms.
It's still real to me.
Pod. I need to pull up that video. That was funny. Definitely go and check out all our website, www.talkpod.com. Check out our social media. And you can follow me on everything at TK Trinidad. Tomorrow, we will be back for another episode of WWT Live. So much going on, so much to talk about. Other than that, I thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Only
one last thing
are happening.
I heard Nikki got a rush card that's maxed out. He got one of the Russell Simmons 3-period rush cards.
Anywho, I will
just a rumor.
Talk to you guys
Please
later.
confirm in the chat,
Ciao. Thank you for Women's Wrestling Talk.
Love y'all, AEW. See y'all tomorrow.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.